Hi, everyone. Kate Byers. I'm the founder of Corporate Women Unleashed. And for those of you who have been following us for a while, we're going to talk about an interesting topic today. We're going to talk about blind spots. But before I jump in, for those of you who are new to listening to our broadcast, our company is really on a mission to help the world, but women especially, reframe how success is achieved. So that success doesn't mean a trade-off and success doesn't mean sacrifice. Success really means tremendous well-being, okay? And we happen to live in a world where the higher you go up the corporate ladder, or the more prestigious your career is, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, whatever, the assumption is that that's going to come at a great cost. If you're not willing to work hard and and sacrifice, then you're not going to be a success, okay? And this is just a cultural pattern. So one of the ways our company and what we teach helps solve for that is we really have a deep-seated understanding of human behavior. So our expertise, our field of expertise is in the human behavior of highly successful people. And when it comes to blind spots, there is a really big reason that's very simple, but fundamentally it's hard to sort of crack open, if you will, to get to it, of why we come to these blind spots in our career or in our life. So I don't know how many of you are watching, raise your hand, or in the comments below, like type a 1 or something, have had a point in your life where you've had a blind spot. A lot of times we see it very frequently happen, maybe mid-30s, definitely into our 40s, where you're thinking, am I having a midlife crisis? Why do I not know which way to go in my career? It's always been very evident to me. Maybe there's a blind spot about going further in your career. I think for a lot of women, and one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is that we see a lot of women stepping back in their career or not stepping further because there's a blind spot. What's it going to be like up there? This is bad enough as it is. How in the heck am I going to control things when I'm, one step further in my career? And so we limit ourselves. We hold ourselves back because we're afraid that we're not going to be able to juggle all the things that we have in our life that are precious to us. So there's 2 reasons that blind spots happen. Whether that blind spot is, I don't know where to go next in my career, I don't know whether or not to take on more work or less work, whether that blind spot is, am I even doing the things in my life that make me happy? A lot of times I think we get to a point where we're like, I don't even know if I'm happy in my life, and I should be. So where the blind spots happen is in your youth. There's it's a very simple formula, right? Like go to school, get good grades, go to a good college, get a graduate degree, get a job. How hard is that? It's fairly straightforward. And yeah, you may have had to figure out what career path you're going to take. But the formula to have an enjoyable life in our youth is given to us, okay? And sadly, in our culture, no one teaches you that life's going to be a lot more complex than that. It just is, right? Because in your youth, you kind of have baked in connections, like the connections are already with your parents, right? Like in college, you have parents, siblings, or maybe with your college roommates, or maybe with, whatever company you first start out at, you have these baked in relationships, but then all of a sudden you go out into the world, you meet a partner, and maybe you start a family, or you don't, or you're dating, or whatever it is. And now all of a sudden there's complexity in relationships. You start earning a little bit of money. In the beginning, you just want to pay your bills. Now there's complexity with money because now you either have more things demanding that you have more money, right? Life, a house, kids, car, whatever. So you have to make more complex decisions around money. So the point is that life is becoming ever more complex the older you get. So it's natural that you're going to have a blind spot. And the reason is we have never been taught to truly understand what creates well-being in life. Okay, so why would you want well-being? I don't mean health. Well-being is, why are you here on this earth? Well-being is, I feel amazing about my life. Your well-being is this experience, this thing called life. I'm experiencing, peace, contentment, control, enjoyment, freedom. That's well-being. Okay, so whatever you think everyone's racing around looking for, love, happiness, call it happiness, whatever. I call it well-being because happiness is a temporal emotion. And so instead of using the word happiness, I'm going to call it well-being. So the point being is life has gotten more and more complex, right? And you've gotten into this position where now, again, in your 30s, your 40s, certainly by your 50s, there's a lot of complexity in life. There's a lot more stress and pressure on you to make decisions at a level of complexity that no one's prepared you for. And underneath all of those complex decisions and decisions you need to make is something called your human biology and psychology. And that's what creates well-being, is when you understand what is it that really creates well-being in this moment in my life. Now you can start to solve for it and the blind spot goes away. So we call those your human needs. We all have 7 intrinsic human needs, whether it's autonomy, it's your health, it's connection with others, it's having flow, like leisure, rest time, it's security, making sure that we're safe, that we have the money and a roof over our head, things like that. And when you start breaking apart your life into your 7 intrinsic needs, you start to see that there's gaps. And now all of a sudden the blind spot just starts to just open up a little bit. It's like, here's where some of the gaps are. And so what you'll notice that we're doing is we're going away from, what should my next job be? Should I leave this job? Should I stay in this job? Should I take the next job? Should I take a promotion? We're going to put that aside, the blind spot aside, and we're going to say, well, what are your needs right now? And how are you meeting those needs? And are you meeting those needs effectively or less effectively? And if you made this choice in your career, would it effectively help you meet your needs or not? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a whole new way to look at life. And what's cool about it is that, having studied human nature for so many years, is when you understand human nature and you understand what's the root motivators for our nature, now all of a sudden we can start making decisions for our life that, first of all, negate this whole trade-off idea. That was just given to us culturally. That's not really what's going on inside of us. And you can start seeing your life as this cornucopia of human needs that you get to go in and sort of orchestrate, like the what do you call it? The conductor of the choir, or the conductor of the orchestra, right? So rather than, I have to go make this decision in my career so that I can have a life that's enjoyable. It's like your career is just a piece of it. I've also got to make decisions for my health. I've also got to make decisions for my connection with my family and friends. I've also got to make decisions for my purpose and my, the person I want to be in this world as a leader, a woman, a member of my community. And all of a sudden, it sounds complex, but it's really not. It's actually taking all these complex things that you're trying to balance and all the plates that are spinning, and it's just slooping it into just like, oh, here's this bowl, this cornucopia of decisions that if I just know how to meet my needs, and I look at life according to a cornucopia of needs rather than this one thing that I have to go out and do. I have to make this killer career decision that will then create everything else in life falling into place, which is BS. That never happens. Now, all of a sudden, we have greater awareness about ourselves, our motivators, the people around us, and what they're needing from us. And we can start to breathe a little bit. And we see this over and over again with the women we work with. A lot of women come to us in their late 30s and 40s and going, I've got a blind spot. I don't know what to do next. I'm feeling trapped. I don't know if I should go forward, if I should go sideways, if I should go backwards, if I should recreate myself. And so when you're feeling stuck like that, it feels icky. Especially for highly successful people, right? Like, we are used to making decisions and just solving problems and churning out answers like that. And so all of a sudden to be thrown into this world of blind spot where you're uncertain, that is like the death knell for a highly successful person. It feels so uncomfortable to feel out of control. And that's why we start having, jagged cries in the shower. You get frustrated easily in traffic. You go home and you kick the dog because the dog's in the way, or, you yell at your kids if you've got kids or whatever, because being in this situation where you feel emotionally trapped is super, super stressful for successful people, because we don't live in that world ever, right? We live in the world of solutions. And that's why blind spots can feel so scary. And the big mistake that a lot of people make is they try to solve for them too quickly, right? I just want the feeling to go away. And we have worked with women who have changed houses, they've changed husbands, they've changed careers, they've changed jobs, they've changed bosses. They've done a lot of things thinking this was the solution for my blind spot. And sadly, it wasn't. It was the wrong choice, because what they didn't understand is that in this complexity of life that you now experience in your 40s, usually in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, is your needs aren't getting met. Right? You've had this very linear path of work first, and then life is going to solve for itself. That doesn't work. And so now all of a sudden you're sitting here going, what do I do? I'm supposed to be happy, have a great job, great house, great husband, great kids, great wife, whatever you got. And it ain't working. And it's because life has become complex. So you're suffering in some areas of your needs. They're going unmet. And that's what's creating the strain and the blind spot. Now, there's another piece of this that you have to be aware of, which is the emotional fallout of being in the situation. So as we go through life, we have experiences, right? Whatever your experiences are, experiences from your youth, experiences from your childhood, in school, teachers, uncles, aunts, parents, siblings, college roommates, whatever. And in these experiences with other people and with what you've read in the media and how you've been, brought up, you have created a series of habits, patterns of belief, stories, whatever you want to call them. Okay. I call them success styles, or you could call them stories. But these scripts, if you will, are running through your mind about how life should be, how success is achieved, who I should be as a woman who's capable and successful. And we all have slightly different ones, but there's kind of these patterns of behaviors that we adopt. So when you add the complexity of life as we age, you add the inability for us to know that we have needs. And so your needs are going unmet. You're not even aware of them, which is creating emotional strain, burnout, blind spots. And then you also have these patterns of thinking, these habits of behavior that you've acquired over time in your career and in your all through your life, your childhood and your life, that then is influencing your ability to see options in front of you. So a really common one, let's just take one this is like super uber common, but it's just a great one to illustrate my point. Perfectionism, right? We've all heard of perfectionists, and some of us have perfectionism, fine. But the way perfectionism comes about is when there's a thought pattern, right? The thought pattern is, I must be perfect. I can't make mistakes. Mistakes are bad. Mistakes are lazy. Mistakes are sloppy. Mistakes mean you don't care, right? So there's a thought pattern around making mistakes or doing sloppy work or imperfect, whatever work. And then there's an emotional reaction if we do something imperfect. So someone who has a success style or a story of perfectionism does amazing work. I mean, they do work that's highly accurate and perfect. However, there's an emotional reaction. If you send that email out too soon, right? It's like there's just this emotional, this contraction of I've messed up, and you feel horrible, right? So those patterns of thinking and those patterns of emotion are also with us. So let's go back to our blind spot. We have complex life. We have needs that are going unmet. And then we have these emotional patterns that are sitting on top of all that, blinding you really from solving for the blind spot. Okay. And so it's not until those emotional patterns are known to you and addressed that you can actually go, wait a minute, there's other ways of doing things. And it doesn't mean a perfectionist has to go be a slob or, uncaring. That's not what we're talking about. But there's a time for perfectionism, and then there's a time to just chill out, right? And so it's learning to negate and really manage that emotional reaction so that you can see other options in front of you. So, another example would be, we work with a lot of executives who are at sort of that pinnacle moment in their career, and they're like, oh, should I go for gold? Should I go into that next level, whether it's just step into the C-suite or go from one area of the C-suite to the next, or whatever it is. It's like that pinnacle moment, and there's something holding you back, and you have this blind spot. Typically, it's one of two things. One is their needs have gone unmet for such a long time that they're just famished. They're just, they're unfulfilled. You literally feel burnt out, and it's like, God, I got nothing else to give. And so it becomes very romantic to think about doing something other than what you're doing, right? And it really has little to do with choosing a new job. It has to do with learning how to meet your needs. The other piece that's creating the blind spot is some sort of emotional reaction. Like, let's just say, go back to perfectionism. I've had to be perfect for so many years to get to, let me make something up, an EVP level. Now to have to be perfect at, let's just say, the CMO role, that just sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Should I do it? Should I not? Because there's this lens of I have to be perfect, like perfectionism. So what is perfectionism going to look like as a CMO? Oh my God, do I even want that? Is that the right thing to do? And now we're at this blind spot. I don't know what to do. When we remove the lens, the emotional attachment to perfectionism, now all perfectionism is just something you can or can't do. You can choose to be perfect in some situations and choose to be imperfect in others. And the cool thing about it is you can take more risks and life gets a lot more fun. But that's for another broadcast. So those are really the two pieces that create, like, let's just say both halves of the blind spot. One is needs are going unmet. And there's no way to cure for the blind spot if your needs continue to be unmet. What's going to happen is you'll make choices that aren't effective. And then you're going to be like, oh, great. Well, I jumped into whatever this choice was, and now I'm still not content, happy, secure. The other piece of it is the emotional lens that we all carry with us through life. As life has just happened and we've created all these different patterns of behavior. And that's what's so fascinating about human behavior is when you get to understand it and you get below the surface of all the surface level stuff that's happening, your eyes get bright, you're able to make effective decisions because now you have the information you need. Blind spot goes away like instantaneously. We see it all the time. So I hope that's helpful for you. If you have reached a blind spot in your life, welcome to life. Welcome to, again, I don't know how old you are, but welcome to the, what happens typically as you progress in your life is you're going to come up with these crossroads and these blind spots. But they're solvable. They're very easily solvable once you have that information and you can really start pulling things apart. So I encourage you to do that and really pull apart what's going on in your human needs that aren't getting met. And what are some of those stories and blind spots, they're creating some emotional triggers that are keeping you from solving for that blind spot. That always, always, always solves for it. If you want to know more, I would encourage you to watch one of our free trainings. Obviously, we have a lot on YouTube, but we also have one that we will link below here that really kind of steps you through some of these things on a deeper level. So I encourage you to watch the free training. Most of the clients we work with they got a lot out of it. And then they decided to take the next step and actually work with us. But I think the free training alone is something that you would find great value in. And I encourage you to watch it and also to share this broadcast. If this broadcast has been helpful to you, share it with someone else. There's another woman out there who's like suffering for success and she's stuck and she may have a blind spot. So make sure she sees it so that she can also be inspired and get some information that'll help her in her journey. Again, I'm Kate Byers, founder of Corporate Women Unleashed. It's been my delight to be here with you. And bye, everyone. I'll see you again next time.